on the wall. Avadrishyade is perceived. So abhasena, by his reflection. Tadha, in that way, Suryaha, the sun, Jalastena, situated on the water, Divi, in the sky, Stidaha, situated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The presence of the Supreme Lord can be realized just as the sun is realized first as a reflection on water, and again as a second reflection on the wall of a room, although the sun itself is situated in the sky. The example given herewith is perfect. The sun is situated in the sky, far away from the surface of the earth. But its reflection can be seen in a pot of water in the corner of a room. The room is dark and the sun is far away in the sky. But the sun's reflection on the water illuminates the darkness of the room. A pure devotee can realize the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everything by the reflection of his energy. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that as the presence of fire is understood by heat and light, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although one without a second, is perceived everywhere by the diffusion of his different energies. It is confirmed in the Ishopanishads that the presence of the Lord is perceived everywhere by the liberated soul, just as the sunshine and the reflection can be perceived everywhere, although the sun is situated far away from the surface of the globe. Om Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Salagaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stabidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadadhi Supadandigam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapadagambalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanidam Tam Sajivam Sadhuidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalidam Shri Vishakhanidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranabami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashta Bhudale Srimade Lokanath Swami Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashta Bhudale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Om Namo Niruddhaya Rishi Geshendriyatmane Namaha Paramahamsaya Purnaya Nivurtatmane Harihi Om Tatsat. Hare Krishna. Yada jalasta abhasa stalastenendriya drishyade subhavasena tada suryo jalastena divistidaha. The presence of the Supreme Lord can be realized just as the sun is realized first as a reflection on water and again as a second reflection on the wall of a room, although the sun itself is situated in the sky. Devotees, this is a very wonderful words to understand, to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We call it as Bhagavan realization. So we know that in this since beginning of this chapter, Kapila is instructing Mother Devahudi about the differentiation between the material nature and the spiritual nature. Especially this chapter is titled as the material nature. understanding material nature. So why it is mentioned that understanding the material nature? So understanding the material nature so that we can understand further our eternal nature, that's a spiritual nature. Understanding material nature means that we are here temporarily or in this material world. So in the beginning itself, the first verse onwards, Kapiladev was mentioning to Mother Devahudi that one who is free from these modes of material nature, he is aloof from it, and he only can constantly associate in the spiritual nature. So the core point is that we should understand what is its material nature and its temporary nature, so that we can understand who we are really. And that's what is the further verses Kapiladev was mentioning about, that one who is in the modes of material nature is not able to come out of it, this material prakriti, or he will be constantly exist as different living entities in this world. He will not be able to liberate himself. So the purpose of all this to understand how we can liberate from this material world. Material world or the nature, the modes of material nature is so strong that it devours the living entity, and the living entity thinks that he is this material nature, he is his nature is material, everything is loaded over this material nature. I am the proprietor, I am the creator, I am the maintainer. So he completely devours by this material energy, but that is our temporary nature. But on the other hand, the Kapila Dev is mentioning that the Supreme Lord, these are all the reflection, these are all the creations of the Supreme Lord. These are his creations, his manifestations. And that's why this we were going through this last few chapters of how this material nature is created. And here we can see that very clearly, that Kapila Devi is instructing to Mother Devahudi, beyond that there is another nature, that's a superior nature, and that superior nature is belongs to that supreme Lord, that's Sri Krishna. And then that is our eternal, that we all have to come to that, our superior nature, come out from this temporary material nature. And then how one can see that the supreme personality of Godhead, that's what Kapila Dev was mentioning. Beyond this material nature, there is Supreme Lord. How one can perceive that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the last verse, Kapila Dev was mentioning the same, that the Supreme Lord is the cause of all the causes, and he is the cause of the creation. He enters into it, and he maintains it, and he is the sustainer of everything. So from him comes everything. As it's mentioned that in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo, Madaga Sarvam Pravartade Idi Matva Bhajande Mam Bhudabhava Somanidaha. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Madaga Sarvam Pravartade. Krishna is also declaring that in the Bhagavad Gita, that everything, that all spiritual and material nature comes from me. One who knows this, engage in the loving devotional service with the knowledge. So this is the understanding we should have, and this is the purpose of that Kapila Devi is instructing to Mother Devahudi, understanding our eternal nature or its eternal constitutional position, so that we can come out from this material nature. So here in this verse, Kapila Devi was also mentioning that how one can have that realization of the Supreme Personality of God. So Kapila Devi is saying the presence of the Supreme Lord can be realized just as the sun is realized first as a reflection on water, and again as a second reflection on the wall of a room, although the sun itself is situated in the sky. So here it is a beautiful example Kapila Devi is giving how one can realize that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So before that, we come to that Bhagavan realization. So as we all know that many times people realizes in different way. That itself also mentioned in the Bhagavatam, that Vadanti Tat Tat Vidattatam Yad Jnanam Avyayam Brahmedi Paramatmedi Bhagavan Iti Shabde. A learned scholar understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be perceived in three other aspects, which is known as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So there are many realizations people can have, but the same absolute truth, same Supreme Lord. So there is a Brahman realization. Brahman realization means the understanding that Lord is in everything, or generally it is known as the glowing effulgence of the Lord. Lord ever exists, and Lord's glowing effulgence is everywhere. So there is no doubt into that. They see that Lord is as a light, or his potency is everywhere, and they see that whatever you see is the Lord. So they don't distinguish. They say that Lord is Nirakar. Lord doesn't have any form. Lord is just an effulgence, just a light, and so they perceive like that. So there is nothing wrong. Yes, the Lord can be also seen as He is everywhere. His effulgence is everywhere. Because of His effulgence, that everything is illuminated. So He is powerful and He is everywhere. There is nothing wrong. So that is the Brahman realization. Then there is a realization called Paramatma realization. So what is this Paramatma realization? So Paramatma realization, that a yogi, a one who is meditating upon the Supreme Lord, one who is going through the penances to understand the absolute nature of the Lord, by many years of penance or the tapas, that he perceives that the Supreme Lord is seated in their heart. So he sees that the Supreme Lord is the living entity is also part of him, and that Supreme Lord is manifested. He can see and perceive that in the four-handed form in his heart, and he sees that the Supreme Lord is as Paramatma. Paramatma is also that pervading potency is everywhere, and is also seated in the heart. Then, when due to the this tapas, thousands of years of penance, this yogi sees that the Lord in his heart. So that's called Paramatma realization. He realized that yes, I am existing because of that Paramatma. So he then sees the Lord in the heart. So then we comes to that the Bhagavan realization. Bhagavan realization, Prabhupada says that this is the last word of the realization. Because of Bhagavan realization is the ultimate. So only by the loving devotional service, that's what is Kabladev is mentioning here, by the loving devotional service that one can perceive, one can understand the Supreme Lord. Unless and until we engage into the loving devotional service, one cannot understand that Bhagavan, one cannot come to that Bhagavan realization. And in fact, that if one wants to know or one wants to see the Lord, that Bhagavan, to realize that Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no other way. So here, the last word or the ultimate realization is known as Bhagavan realization. What is that Bhagavan realization? Bhagavan realization is not nothing but is that Supreme Lord is a person. He is Bhagavan. That means he has all these opulences. Bhag. He has fame. He has knowledge. He has strength. He has renunciation. He has beauty. He has wealth. Everything he has like a person. So that he is known as Bhag. Bhag means opulence. One means one who possesses. So Bhagavan or the Supreme Lord has all this. So Supreme Lord is a person. So similarly, in the Kathopanishad, which is reveals that Nityo Nityanam Chedanas Chedananam Ego Bahunam Yo Vidadadi Kama. It is mentioned that Nityo Nityana, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nitya, he is eternal, and he is the eternity of that eternal. Nityo Nityana. At the same time, he has Chedanas Chedanana. He is full of potency. And Chedanana, man, he is the potency of that potency. Chedana, Nityo Nityanam Chedanas Chedanana. And also he is a living entity. Chedana means full of potency. And at the same time, Chedana, Chit is also considered as that the living entity. So Bhagavan is a living entity. He is a person. That's why Srila Prabhupada says personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme Lord of all the living and Supreme Lord of all the living entities, living being. So he is a person. So he has an identity. So he has an identity. He has beauty. He has form. So, but that form is eternal, transcendental, and spiritual. Not like what we see in this material world, that everything is temporary, that temporary form. No, but Krishna's form is eternal. So Kapila Devi is instructing to the mother Devahudi that Supreme Lord is a person. That's called Bhagavan, the presence of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord can be perceived and realized. Now, how that one can realize? So by just for Kapila Devi is giving an example of that. The sun, the example of a sun. So sun is far, far away. At the same time, that same sun can be perceived and can be seen from the reflection of a water. And we all have seen that when there is an eclipse happens in when we were child, eclipse happens. So instead of looking at the sun directly or the moon, we put this water on the ground or somewhere on the roof and then look at the water. Then we can see that the reflection of the sun and the sun is in the water. So the entire sun globe is we can see in this water. So similarly, so we can see Lord in everywhere. So Lord's presence is in everywhere. So this is the way that we can also, that doesn't mean that, we see the reflection. So because of the Lord is there, that's where the reflection. If the Lord is not there or the sun is not there, then there is no reflection. Right? So when the sun is not there, even when you put the water, the same water in the night, so we don't see that the sun rays and the reflections from the water. So like that, when the sun is there, that's why we have the reflection of the sunlight. So similarly, that we can see that everything exists because of that Supreme Personality of Godhead. If that Supreme Personality of Godhead doesn't exist, then nothing won't exist. Similarly, the sun, if the sun doesn't exist, then there is no sunlight, there is no heat, there is no reflections on the water, nothing exists. So similarly, so Kapila Devi is mentioning to Mother Devahudi that we can perceive the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that in similar way. So the sun globe, it exists. We can see that it has a physical form. It has a huge nature. It has so much of potency. It emits the lights and it emits the heat and produces the heat and so many qualities that sun globe has. So that similarly, that the moment that we see that the sunlight in the water and the reflection, so we can also perceive the same. When we can see that sometimes we use the glass to focus the sunlight. So when the convex lens, we use that, to burn something. So when we focus that convex lens through the light and we focus on something and it burns. So that means that same reflection of the light or same light has all this potency, all this nature. So similarly, we can see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though that we see this material nature is temporary, but we can see through that everything that Lord's presence, it's Lord's nature, or because of the Lord that we can see that, we can perceive that because of the Lord that everything exists. Similarly, that in the previous verses, Kapila Devi is also mentioning that he enters into the eyes, he enters into the senses. Even he is the eyes of the illusory energy. He is the eyes of illusory energy. That means that everything even he is the cause of the modes of material nature. He is the presence in the modes of material nature. So he is there in the material nature. That's what it means, that he is there, he is present in everything. As is mentioned that, Mayadhyakshana prakrite suyade sacharacharam hedunanena kaundeya jagat vibharivartade. This material nature is under my superintendence. So Lord is perceived, Lord is everywhere. So we can see that. So because of the Lord's existence, that everything exists, otherwise nothing won't exist. So this is a very clear understanding that we should have always. The Lord is there, that's why we are there. We are part and parcel of the Lord. Lord is there because of the Lord's presence, that everything is manifested, everything is, here. So that same example, Kapila Devi is giving that. So we should always realize that the Supreme Lord in such a way that doesn't mean that the Lord is not there. So that means, okay, only material nature is there. As soon as we finishes material elements and it's temporary, as soon as it finishes, it merges with the different other elements. So, Lord's potency is like that, it merges like this. But Lord is a person, like a sun globe. Sun globe, he has a physical form. So similarly, Lord also has a form, but it's a transcendental form. As it's mentioned, the sun globe is far, far away, but Lord is also far, far away. At the same time, he is also near. And Upanishads and the Vedas says this very clearly. Even though he is far, far away, he is very near. And Nityo Nityanam Chedanas Chedananam Eko Bahuna. That means he is one, at the same time he is different. And he is also, that's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is brought this, he is Ajindya Bheda Abheda Tattva. He is inconceivable. At the same time, we can perceive. Ajindya Bheda. And he is simultaneously one, at the same time different. Ajindya Bheda Abheda Tattva. And this is the God realization, this is the Bhagavan realization we should have. The Supreme Lord is that he is ever existing. He is original. Adhyam Purana Purusham Navayoviyanamja. And also Arjuna is revealing that. Param Bhram Param Dham Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divya Adi Deva Majambiv. Because of Arjuna has that realization, that Bhagavan realization. So, how one can come to that realization? That's also Kapiladev was mentioning in the previous, only by the loving devotional service. And also Mother Devahudi asking this question, how one can liberate himself? How is there any possibility, or is there any time that we are all immersed into this material energy, that is there any time that material energy relieves this living entity, or the living entity can comes out from the clutches of this material energy because of it's so strong, so powerful. So as long as we are into this material nature, it's very difficult to overcome this material nature. So Sri Krishna also says that Devi Yesha Gunamayi Mamaya Durataya Mameve Prabhadyante Maya Meva Dharandide. These modes of material nature consist of my energy. Modes of material nature. And Mameve Prabhadyante Maya Meva Dharandide. Only by rendering loving service unto me that one can liberate himself from the entanglement of this material nature or the modes of material nature. So similarly, Mother Devahudi also asking this question that, is there any chance that one living entity is completely immersed in this material nature can be liberated or come out from the entanglement? And Kapiladev says the same thing. That only by that loving devotional service, and that devotional service is nothing to do with the material nature. It's not material energy. This is completely a spiritual superior energy. So if one comes out from this inferior material nature and come to the superior nature, or that spiritual nature or spiritual potency, then only one can liberate himself from this material entanglement or material energy. So a fortunate devotee, when he engages into that loving devotional service, he can come to that realization of that Bhagavan, that Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are so many examples out there. There is a temple in Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram is a very beautiful deity. Is known as Varadaraj. Varadaraj, he is known as Varadaraja Perumal. And his Varadaraj means he always gives showers mercy to the devotees. So when a devotee comes to that Bhagavan realization, then he sees, he can realize that Supreme Lord is a person like that. So every temple, every deity, one has to realize that Supreme Lord in such a way that he is a Supreme Lord Bhagavan. So here one devotee, he is not even a Brahmana, but he has very loving devotion to the Lord. And he always, associated with the devotees in the temple. And he was willing to serve the Lord. So then the pujaris, they allowed this, his name is called Kanchipurna. So they allowed Kanchipurna to, okay, you don't do anything else, but you just fan the Lord. So when after the puja is over, you just fan the Lord all the time. And then that's you are very much willing to serve the Lord. So like this way, Kanchipurna was fanning the Lord every time. So then very sincerely, this Kanchipurna was serving the Lordships. And then eventually what happened, his devotion, his sincerity, his dedication and determination, the Lord saw this and sees this, and Lord started to speak to this Kanchipurna. So now Kanchipurna is speaking to the Lord, and Lord is asking questions that what is happening around. Just Lord wanted to reciprocate. Lord is asking that what is happening in the town, what is happening into this devotee, what is happening to this devotee. And then everybody came to know that Kanchipurna is talking with the Lord Varadaraj. Varadaraj is so pleased with the service of the Kanchipurna. And then Kanchipurna was very sincerely and dedicated and then serving the lordships. So the news came out and spread. And now everybody is, asking Kanchipurna, can you please ask the Lord that what is my destination? What is my fate? What will happen to me? And when I will be go back to Krishna, our God. And so then every day people were asking the Kanchipurna, go and ask. And then the Kanchipurna come and ask the Lord that, okay, this devotee asked me that, when he is going to get liberation, what is going to be fate and things like that. So Lord will reciprocate, Lord will reply that this devotee will come after 3 lifetimes to me. This devotee will come back this lifetime. He has to go through this problem. So this Kanchipurna started to say like this. So then even one day, Ramanujacharya even came. And Ramanujacharya also came to know that this Kanchipurna is now, Lord is so pleased with the Kanchipurna. So the Ramanujacharya then came and also asked Kanchipurna, can you also ask the Lordship Varadaraja that when I will be going back to the Lord? So then, Kanchipurna came and asked to Varadaraj that Ramanujacharya asked like this. And Lord said that, yes, Ramanujacharya will be going back to come to my abode in this lifetime. Then all on a sudden, Kanchipurna asked, and the curiosity, oh Lord, I'm asking for everyone, when I will be attain the lordships, oh Lord, when I will attain you. So Lord said that you won't come to me this lifetime, but because, and then Kanchipurna asked, why? So then Lord said that, yes, you didn't do any service, personal service to the devotees. So you will come to me only once after you perform the devotion to the devotees. You didn't do that so far. You were serving only me. That is not the eligibility. That's not the qualification that one can enter into the Vaikunta and abode of the Lord. Then immediately Kanchipurna left that service and went out and then started to do the service to the personal service to the devotees. And he was pulling. He could, he got a cart. And then he was holding these devotees and bring to the temple. And then came back after that and asked Lord that I did service. And so Lord is so pleased with the Kanchipurna. And Lord said that you will come to me in this lifetime. So dear devotees, so this Bhagavan realization is the greatest of all. By loving devotional service to the Lord and his devotees, that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord and eternally associate with the Supreme Lord. So this is Lord Kapila Devi is mentioning and instructing to Mother Devahudi this way. So thank you so much. Let me stop here. Grandhiraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. I'd like to wish everybody a safe and Krishna conscious day and weekend ahead. We like to offer our prayers to the Supreme Lord by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Nrsingo, Jai Nrsingo, Jai Nrsingo, Praladesha, Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Pringam. Ugraviram Mahavishnu Kam Nrsingham Vishnam Bhadram Namamiyam. Nrsinga Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad ki jai. Let's offer our humble obeisances to all decimal Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpataru sindhu patitanam Vaishnavindra ki jai, Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande,
Hari. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, everybody. Hari Bol.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.